Hello, welcome back. This is Type Tip video number 6, Change Color. Typographic emphasis helps to direct the viewer's attention towards specific information to focus on. One way to achieve this is by using color. A burst of color can help text stand out when compared to other elements that are present. Tip number 1. Utilize contrasting colors. Ensure that the color chosen for emphasis is easily noticeable to the viewer and distinctly stands out from other colors in the design. For example, I have what appears to be a fan-made movie poster. As you can see on the very left, there's hardly any contrast between the title, which is buried, compared to the rest of the text. In the middle, the reddish color does not stand out enough to automatically grab the viewer's attention. And in the last example, we can easily identify the title of this movie. This is the first thing that the viewer sees before making their way around the rest of the composition. Tip number 2, use a limited color palette. By employing a limited color palette, designers can maintain clarity and ensure that the emphasized elements truly stand out. And tip number 3, use consistent color. To maintain coherence and visual harmony, adhere to a consistent color scheme throughout your design. I chose to group these two tips together because I think they complement one another. For example, on the bottom right-hand side, we can see a magazine template, but notice how they use this pinkish salmon color throughout the design, therefore employing tip number 2, limiting their color palette and using the same consistent color throughout the design. Tip number 4, use color to evoke emotions. Choose colors that match your message to create a mood and make important information stand out. There is extensive research that different colors can evoke certain emotions out of the viewer, and I put just a few examples here with some well-known logos as well as a breakdown of what these colors can evoke. For example, red can evoke things like excitement, energy, strength, love. Orange can evoke things like confidence, success, and so on. There are links in the description that will lead you to some of this information, but a simple Google search such as the psychology of color can lead you in the right direction. How do you actually use this technique? This technique can be achieved in one of two ways: by coloring the actual text, as you can see on the left-hand side, or by placing a colored object behind it. Each of these ways have their own benefits and drawbacks. However you use it, make sure you try both of them first before you commit to one. As always, let's go over some examples. First, we'll go over a series of logos. Let's start at the top left with Harley Davidson. Here we can see that the main color is orange and black. This time they use a lack of color or the color white to get the message across. Notice how that's the brightest thing on this, or the one with the most contrast. So the first thing the viewer reads is Harley Davidson, followed by motorcycles. In the middle, we have Ego Boys Pizza. Now, I've actually never tried this pizza before, so if you have, please let me know. Here, they use this technique in the bottom portion with the word pizza. Notice how that's the brightest thing on this design. And so the first thing that the viewer reads is pizza, followed by Ego Boys, communicating to the viewer that they sell pizza here. Let's skip to the bottom left with the LinkedIn. Now remember the techniques that we talked about in the previous slide. Here we have a colored object behind the word in, and that is the attracting point of this logo. On the right hand side, we have the old logo of Baskin-Robbins, and in the bottom we have the new logo of Baskin-Robbins. I like how they maintain this use of color to communicate to the viewer that they sell 31 different flavors of ice cream. It is a very creative way they found to incorporate the initials BR, that stands for Baskin-Robbins, and also the number 31, again, to communicate that they sell 31 different flavors of ice cream. Next up, we have print. I think that this technique is mostly applicable to print products and also website products, and I'll tell you why here on this slide. First of all, on the left-hand side, we have a 2-page spread with important information to the viewer. Notice how they set the bar here with the color green, as we can see on the right-hand side of all these words. But as we continue to the rest of the print product, we can see this green being used for important titles of these paragraphs. So this easily communicates to the viewer what each of these paragraphs will be about or contain information on, and the viewer can decide to skip some of these or maybe to read all of them depending on what is it that they are looking for. Notice how they also use this green for the table and for the other images, employing the limited use of color palette and the consistent color palette techniques throughout the product. Another print product, this time we're looking at book covers. On the left-hand side, I wanted to point out this book called The Outsiders. Notice how the word New York Times and The Guardian are highlighted in a different color, communicating to the viewer that these institutions have reviewed and approved this product, but also notice the box behind the actual title using the same hue or color for these 3 objects on the right hand side. Now this is a pretty unique cover. Notice how the book cover is mostly black and white, but the actual title of the book, called The Status Game, is the one that's in a different color. So I think the author here was trying to get his name across first, as it is the biggest design element in the composition. But after that, the first thing that the viewer reads is The Status Game. Let's move on to some movie posters. On the left-hand side, we have the movie poster for The Silence of the Lambs. Notice how the title is in an orange-ish hue that stands out against this black and bluish, whitish background, but it also is using a monochromatic version of orange that is seen in this insect and also in the eyes. In the middle, we have what I think might be a fan-made movie poster for the movie Pearl. Again, notice how they use red throughout the composition. At the top, we have the letter X that is red, bringing attention to it. But more importantly, we have the movie title Pearl in a color red, again, bringing attention to it because it stands out against this white background and the rest of the text, which is black. On the right-hand side, we have a movie poster for the film Creed. Now, I think they use this technique very creatively here. Not only does the red object in the background serve as one of the 2 techniques that we talked about earlier to make this white text stand out, but they also use this object to tell us that this is the 3rd movie in the series. So again, I think that is a very creative use of this. Like I said earlier, I think that this technique can really benefit print products and websites. Notice how they use the color yellow to bring attention to those specific pieces of text, letting the viewer know this website provides marketing email, leads, sales, and they help you grow all of these. And I think they used it very, very well here with these sort of handmade elements to it, not only in the text, but also the object behind the subject here or the person is also very handmade-like. Not to mention that they are using a very well-established color combination of blue and yellow. Now let's move on to another print product. This time it is packaging. Here we have a series of hot sauce bottles. Notice how the main brand is in large black letters, but the flavor of each of these different hot sauces has a use of color for the text, bringing attention to it, letting the viewer know these are the flavors for the different. And I think they use this technique very, very well here. Now, excuse the bad quality on the left, but it's the best version of this graphic that I could find. Notice how they use the consistent orange for the logo to let the viewers know that this public skating schedule will take place on these dates, bringing attention to this important information. And on the right-hand side, I believe this might be some of their webinar series. Notice how the word Flyers, which is the name of the team, is in that same orange hue as the circle in the middle of the logo, using the technique of consistency and bringing attention to the viewer that this is hosted by the Flyers. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. And if you want to see more daily content of my artwork, please follow me on Instagram. Here are some of the sources that I used for my information. I'll be linking those down below. And here are my sources for the images. I'll be linking those down below so you can enjoy all that information for yourself. Thank you for tuning in. As always, have a great day. Leave some comments, leave some likes.